In this chapter, we're going to focus on the following 10 key words: indispensable, marginal, momentum, Paul, regal, miscellaneous, foremost, indulge, patronize, and dominate. Now let's start with the first key word, indispensable. Now if you look at this picture, you can see that we have gear that is important for a photographer. Maybe it is not important for everybody else, but it is essential if you are a photographer. So can we say that the things we see in this picture are indispensable for a photographer? But what is the meaning of indispensable? Let's find out. Now, indispensable is an adjective. If you say that someone or something is indispensable, you mean that they are absolutely essential and other people or things cannot function without them. For example, she was becoming indispensable to him. He could not function without her. And synonyms for indispensable are the words essential, necessary, needed, and key. So the next time you remember the picture of this camera and the lenses and other stuff, remember the word indispensable and what it means. And now for the next key word, marginal. Now if you look at this picture, you can see a family of two beautiful children and their mother. But you can tell that this family is not living in the best conditions possible. And I have a feeling that they are not considered as important people, while they may be more important than most other people. But the idea is we want to get close to the word we have here, and that is marginal. Can we say that the status of this family relates to the word marginal? But what is marginal? Let's find out. Now, marginal is an adjective. If you describe something as marginal, you mean that it is small or not very important. For example, this is a marginal improvement on October. The synonyms for marginal in this context are insignificant, small, low, or minor. Now, marginal can be used in a different context. If you describe people as marginal, you mean that they are not involved in the main events or development in society because they are poor or have no power. Maybe that relates more to the picture we just saw. For example, Andy Warhol made glamorous icons out of the most marginal people, the people who everybody thought had no power or no significance in society. But Andy made glamorous icons out of them. And here's another example. I don't want to call him marginal, but he's not a major character. And that can be used when we want to talk about movies or novels, and we want to talk about the characters in these novels or movies. So the next time you remember this picture of this beautiful family, remember the word marginal and what it means. And now for the next key word, momentum. Now if you look at the picture, we can see two people are coming down the mountain. And it seems like the motion started and it's very difficult to stop it now. Actually, if you try to stop them now, you'll probably hurt them or injure them. So is that idea close to the word momentum? Do they have momentum now? Or what is the meaning of momentum? Let's find out. Now, momentum is an uncountable noun. If a process or movement gains momentum, it keeps developing or happening more quickly and keeps becoming less likely to stop. For example, this campaign is really gaining momentum. Now, sometimes things start slowly, but then it gains momentum and becomes very fast until it gets to a point where it can't be stopped. And synonyms for momentum are the words force, power, and drive. So the next time you remember this picture of these two people coming down the mountain, remember the word momentum and what it means. And now for the next key word, Paul. You can see that this is a meeting and there is a person who is explaining things on the board, and the other people in the meeting do not seem to be very interested, or maybe he's not that engaging in the way he's explaining things, so they got bored. But how does that relate to the word Paul? Let's find out. Pall is a verb. If something palls, it becomes less interesting or less enjoyable after a period of time. For example, already the allure of meals in restaurants had begun to pall. And synonyms for pall in this context are the words become boring, become dull, become tedious or become tiresome. And we can use Paul in another context, as a noun this time. If a pall of smoke hangs over a place, there is a thick cloud of smoke above it. For example, a pall of oily black smoke drifted over the cliff top. And synonyms for pall in this context are the words cloud, shadow, veil, or mantle. So the next time you remember the picture that has this not very interesting meaning, remember the word pall and what it means. And now for the next keyword, regal. Now, if you think about the picture we have here, you can think of only one thing, the crown of a king or a queen. So how does that relate to the word regal? Does the word regal have to do with kings and queens and royalty? Let's find out. Now, regal is an adjective. If you describe something as regal, you mean that it is suitable for a king or queen because it's very impressive or beautiful. For example, he sat with such regal dignity, something that is like kings or queens. Or another example, never has she looked more regal. And synonyms for regal are the words royal, majestic, kingly or queenly, or noble. And we can use regally as an adverb. For example, he inclined his head regally. So the next time you remember the picture of this crown, remember the word regal and what it means. And now for the word miscellaneous. If you look at the picture, you can see different kinds of food, but they are not exactly related to each other, or at least not by an untrained chef. Maybe if you bring a professional chef, they will bring all these things together and come up with a great dish. But we're not here to discuss what can be used from these ingredients. These are examples of food that cannot exactly be put in one category. Actually, they belong to many categories. So can we say that this is miscellaneous, or this is related to the idea of miscellaneous, things that do not belong to one category? Let's find out. Now, miscellaneous is an adjective. A miscellaneous group consists of many different kinds of things or people that are difficult to put into a particular category. For example, miscellaneous items that don't fall into any group. And synonyms for miscellaneous are the words mixed, various, or varied, and diverse. So the next time you remember this picture with all the food in it, remember the word miscellaneous and what it means. And now for the next keyword, foremost. Now, if you look at this picture, we can see that the focus is on this lady in the middle, and the other guys in the back are out of focus. Maybe because this lady is the most important, maybe because she's the manager, the boss, who knows? But how does that relate to the idea of foremost? Does foremost mean the most important? Let's find out. Now, foremost is an adjective. The foremost thing or person in a group is the most important or best. For example, he was one of the world's foremost scholars of ancient Indian culture, one of the most important or the best. And synonyms for foremost are the words leading, best, first, or top. Now, there is a common phrase we use with foremost, and that is when we say first and foremost. You use first and foremost to emphasize the most important quality of something or someone. For example, I see myself first and foremost as a working artist. So that is the most important thing. I am emphasizing this idea, so I use first and foremost. So the next time you remember this picture with this lady in focus and the others out of focus, remember the word foremost and what it means. And now for the next keyword, indulge. Now, if you look at this beautiful picture with all the cupcakes in different shapes or different frostings, you can think about it as comfort food. And we usually try to stay away from the comfort food because we know that, especially if we eat a lot of it, it is not good for our health. And we keep this for special times when we want to congratulate ourselves for something or for places where we cannot say no to food like that. So how does that relate to the word indulge? Let's find out. Now, indulge is a verb. If you indulge in something or if you indulge yourself, you allow yourself to have or do something that you know you will enjoy. For For example, we had enough time to indulge in a bit of window shopping. Or you can indulge yourself without spending a fortune. We can also use indulge in a different context. If you indulge someone, you let them have or do what they want, even if this is not good for them. For example, he did not agree with indulging children. And synonyms for indulging in this sense are the words spoil, pamper, and baby. So the next time you remember this picture of those beautiful cupcakes, remember the word indulge and what it means. And now for the next keyword, patronize. Now you can see this poor employee, or at least we think this person is an employee, and there is this boss that is not a very likable image of a boss, and we have this person in chains, and the older person is standing behind him. We can feel there's a sense of feeling superior or better than other people, and that's why you treat them in this way, like the man is treating this poor young fella. So what do you think the word patronize is about? Let's find out. Patronize is a verb. If someone patronizes you, they speak or behave towards you in a way which seems friendly, but which shows that they think they are superior to you in some way. And that is a negative word. We use it to show our disapproval. And the very famous example for that is when we say to people, "Don't you patronize me." Or another example, Cornelia often felt patronized by her tutors. And that's not a very good feeling. Because to be honest, nobody is better than anybody else. Anyway, patronize can also be used in a different context. Now, someone who patronizes artists, writers, or musicians supports them and gives them money. For example, the Japanese imperial family patronizes the Japanese Art Association. They support them and give them money. So the next time you remember this picture of this poor man in chains, remember the word patronize and what it means. And now for the last key word for this chapter, dominate. Now, if you look at this picture, you can see the wolves in the picture, but one of them is on the ground and the two of them are on top. So maybe there was a kind of fight between them, but obviously the two on top are the ones who overpowered that helpless other wolf lying on the ground. So can we say that they dominate him? Is that the meaning of dominate? Let's find out. Now, dominate is a verb. To dominate a situation means to be the most powerful or important person or thing in it. For example, the book is expected to dominate the bestseller lists. Is expected to be the most powerful in the bestseller list. And domination is the noun from dominate. For example, the domination of the market by a small number of organizations. And dominate can also be used in a different context. If one country or person dominates another, they have power over them. For example, women are no longer dominated by the men in their relationships, like it used to be in the past. And neither do the men have to be dominated by women. And that is the essential concept of equality. But anyway, the word dominate in this context have synonyms, and these are the words control, lead, rule, or direct. And domination again is the uncountable noun. For example, they had 5 centuries of dominations by the Romans. Synonyms for domination in this context are the words control, power, rule, or authority. And finally, if a building, mountain, or other object dominates an area, it is so large or impressive that you cannot avoid seeing it. For example, it's one of the biggest buildings in this area and it really dominates this whole place. You cannot say that you haven't noticed it because it dominates the whole place. It's so large and impressive. So the next time you remember the picture of these 3 wolves, remember the word dominate and what it means. And that's all for this chapter.